But yeah, apologies for not dropping regular content. But I've got a few things in the works. Trying to set up my podcast studio and trying to get content. It's yeah. But we got there. We got episode 7. I just shot episode 7 with the fabulous Kaydee Jackson. She's so amazing, so full of life. This week we've been I've been lucky enough to witness her just navigate through what's a bit of an uncomfortable situation. So we're talking about dating, and we're talking about setting the expectations about what you expect, what you get out, non-verbal communication, vulnerability, all that yucky stuff that dating brings out in people. So I'm so grateful for Kaydee. She's amazing. She's absolutely vivacious. She's got a zest for life, and she's got a wealth of knowledge. So without further ado, here comes episode 7, because this, in isolation, is the Smack Talk production. So, don't get nervous. So, Kaydee, this week's it put a few challenges to you, right? And I know that I've managed to sort of ride the wave with you on on a couple of days, which has been awesome, by the way. So thank you for actually being vulnerable with it. I think what we're going to talk about a bit more in depth is that things didn't go your way on a few occasions, and you reset it really quickly. Like you seemed like you were freaking out, but you knew, all right, I just got to get back to what Kaydee does. I just got to show up for myself. I just got to push through. And so that's the stuff that I want to talk about, because I think, one, like, the dating scene is so, like, it's filled with landmines, right? And I think also too that we don't, as the viewers, we don't understand how difficult it is to navigate this. Now, I have experienced every bit on the emotional spectrum with you in that 5-minute period. that it was good though. It was good, because then I was like, oh man, because then you were telling me, oh, this is what he's not doing, and then I'm like, oh yeah, no, this is how she could feel like, you know what I mean? So it was good. So it was a learning curve for me, and I'm, and I'm a guy, so like, and we don't really like to talk about shit, you know what I mean? Yeah. And we don't like to be vulnerable. So for guys and girls, just share what was happening this week and how it unfolded, and then how we got to this place where we're a little bit more settled. We know what we want, we're focused, and we're killing it.
Okay, so first of all, I'll just start off by saying that this week was, last week, this week? Was it this week? Yeah, it was this week. So this week was, unique, but every week with me is unique, because first and foremost, I'm a woman who's here on this planet at this time to evolve and grow. So it's always, my life is always not dramatic, but I'm always going through and navigating stuff. Anyways, and what I'll say is that, so I am a solo, single, white woman living here in New Zealand, and I am, what am I doing, man? I'm trying to date,
You're owning it.
Yeah, dating in 2022 should be an extreme sport, and we should all wear helmets. Like, it's that. Woo! And then you throw in the fact that I'm the self-love queen. Like, so I've got a whole lot of layers going on for me at the moment, and it's cool because when the shit hits the fan and the shit hit the fan, I'm like, this is great content. This is going to be great content. And
it was amazing.
What was cool is that I've got this friendship with you, and so I was able to talk to you about it, because it's kind of unfair for me to expect these guys who are looking just for a date or for whatever to unpack the shit with me. So I guess this is what's so cool about having friendships, and then also the fact that both of us are single, so we are helping each other, because I was like, oh my god, he's doing this, and you're like, no, he's not. He's not. But yeah, I feel like it's normal behavior, especially when, I'm not making excuses for myself, but especially when you have been single for so long and feel like you've had so many failed attempts, you start to get in these negative cycles, these negative loops where you're like, oh, here we go again, you know. And I had a date with this guy who was an absolute babe, and like for start, is this what you want to know? Do you want to know what happened?
Go straight in. So.
Start is what happened was I was seriously attracted to him. We connected because I felt like he understood that the last guy ghosted me. So he'd been so nice to me about that. We called up, and I already in my head, I was like, oh my God, I could see a future with this guy. We were into the same things. He was a PT, I'm a fitness instructor, like all of these things. So I was getting all like romantic in my head. And I think that's the issue, rather than staying present and being in the moment, we just get beyond ourselves. And it was just, I feel like, and then as soon as he kind of left from the date and wasn't responding to me the way that I thought that the way that he was responding to me, I freaked out. So I have got an attachment style which is anxious. So if I feel you pulling back, it makes me anxious because I've had some serious trauma. I've had some stuff happen to me. So, but generally what happens is an anxious attachment style creates an avoidant, and so it actually pushes them away. I don't know how many people know. I feel like a lot of people know about attachment styles and love languages these days. So, yeah, sorry, you're gonna have to put me on tangent here because I don't know where I'm going with this now. But no, I will just say, like, go.
So is that something, because I know that like a normal human tendency is to want to feel loved, and dating is actually it's where the fun is. People say, oh, it's the fun, and you get to learn about people, and you get to
I have learned so much about myself through dating. By the way, I've quit dating now. I'm not doing any more dating. I'm not very good at it. I have quit. I promise this time, like I swore to my mum, I'm done. But I think the reason why is because, I am the hashtag self-love queen. And I was, what I was doing, and I know we spoke about this week, what I was doing was I was attracting in these men who don't have the ability to love me like I need to be loved, because the love that I need is self-love. So I was seeing it as a challenge. I was like, okay, he's emotionally unavailable, I'm gonna go for that guy. And so I would be like, so I set these, like, how do I explain it? So, like, how you say, like, I've bounced back from this. I used that as part of my learning experience. And I'm like, you know what, Kate, you don't need any more learnings. So the next guy that comes into my life needs to be all about, not straight away, but I'm choosing to only be around people that help support my self-love mission, if that makes sense, rather than these guys that are like, I'm a strong personality, and what I've learned about myself is whether you want to be like, whether you can deal with me in your life or not, so if there's buts or maybes, then there's kind of your answer, which is what I said in my stories, because that's what I did. I went and started talking about this in my stories in the middle of it all. Remember, one day I was like, so this guy ghosted me, and the next day I was like, so maybe it wasn't ghosting, maybe it was a little bit of self-sabotage and I pushed him away. Like, does any matter, but then it's like, we are here to relate with each other. We're here to coexist. We're here to find love, as far as I'm concerned.
I think that's a good point.
But I do know.
sorry, I think that's a good point because one, like, well done for this navigating through that. Like, you had so much of um
It
conflicting.
wasn't very graceful.
No, no, but you had so much of conflicting stuff going on that you still managed to sift through all the bullshit to get down to what actually needed to be addressed. Like, um you knew that you were so aware in what you were doing that you knew, hey man, hang on a sec, Katie, I'm actually attracting this and I'm putting this out, and so I need to sort of you know what I mean? That was and hats off to you. Like, it's not easy, and it's like, I tell you this all the time. I was like, you know, you're fucking awesome, but like, and then when I tell you this, you respond back to me like, nah, you know, like, but it's you sort of catching yourself in those moments and going, hey, this is what I'm putting out. And I think that's the key for the listeners, because so many times they get so consumed in feeling these feelings that they don't understand to sort of take a step back. Does it match or align with my goals? Is this something for me? Is this something that,
Yeah.
and we make decisions based on our emotions. So how did you sort of steal up on that?
I only I only really I only recently realized that I was going on these dates with these guys, and at the end of the date, I would be sitting there like, just, so do you like me? And I never ever actually thought, like, do you like them? Like, do they fit with you?
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted to know that you thought I was awesome, you know, like,
Yeah,
and like, it's not okay. And like, but it makes sense, you know, like, I'm not bagging myself. It makes so much sense. Like, it's because I'm so vulnerable. Like, I don't hide anything, and even if I wasn't going to say it, I'm always going to say it. You're always going to be able to read it in my face. I'm going to show up, and if I'm freaking out, I'm going to say to you, oh my god, I'm actually freaking out right now. This is not so cool.
yeah.
But so I feel like when I go on these dates with guys, I literally show them my soul. And so it is hard, because when I feel like it's not going to progress, I feel like it's rejection. That being said, I'm literally just dealing with a girlfriend at the moment who's been dating a guy for a few weeks, and she's lost the plot because he's kind of like, he doesn't really know where he wants things to go. And I was like, isn't that normal? Isn't that why we date? Because we want to see where things are going to go? Like,
Yeah.
I said to her, he's allowed to change his mind. He's also allowed to pull back. He's also allowed to say, you know what, you don't fit with me. And he's also allowed to ghost you. He's like, nobody owes you anything in this world.
Yeah.
And as soon as you start going around, like I said, what do you want from this guy? We're on a date with you. So what, does he have to marry you? It's hard. But we're all these kind of like hurt human beings kind of rocking around, trying to heal the best that we can. And, you know, the love that we're seeking is within us, because that's the love that we can control. You know, that's the only love that you can rely on, because otherwise, if you become reliant on another human being to fill up that love within you, you hold them hostage, you know, and that's exactly that's exactly what she's displaying, and that's what I was displaying, you know, like, I need you to be this, you know, like, for me to feel love. But, and the cool part is that all of these experiences just keep going, you know, the universe is like, Kate, go back to you, you know. And so the next at least 6 months, but I'm dedicating the next 6 months, I'm not doing any dating, and I'm focusing purely on myself, and everything is about self-love, because I know that when I love myself as much as I can, then that's when my Mr. Magical's going to appear, you know. I don't want him. My guy that I'm manifesting is so amazing, and literally if he walked in the door right now, I'd be like, you know, I don't want to be, love this version of me right now, but I want to be an even better version for him, you know, like, I want to, and for me and for us, like, to meet him on that same level. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, actually. That makes perfect sense because, like, I know as a guy, if a guy is, guys don't communicate during dating well. They don't communicate at the
Yeah.
best of times. They're very sort of, and I'm not trying to bag guys. It's just that they're very sort of action orientated. They see a hot chick, they're like, I gotta ask her out. They don't think about asking what she likes, how she's, whether she'll like the restaurant, what type of food she like. That goes out the window. All they know is that she's hot. I need to date her. So we don't give you a lot of cues to work with. And I saw that non-communication, I saw that with you this week. Like you were just having to decipher through bullshit. And I felt for you. I actually felt for you because I was like, make a decision, brother. Like, just throw something out there.
It is hard when somebody goes from having perceived, this is my perception, I'm not bagging the guy at all, just in case he's ever going to watch this, not bagging him.
He's a great guy, by the way. Yeah.
This is my take on it, but especially when I felt like he had sort of comforted me and befriended me when I had been speaking publicly about my issue with the last guy, the policeman that I was dating, remember? So I felt like we'd had clear communication and then things changed. And it's the inconsistency. And then I'm like, I'm communicating with him in a way and I'm like, oh my God, I sound like I'm crazy, because I was feeling crazy because I had created feelings for this guy, it just, yeah. Yeah.
It did bring up a lot of it opened up the tap on a lot of stuff that was underneath. And I think how I don't want to say that you overthought things. I want to say that you have an idea of what you want in life, which is so good though. And that's something that I want to encourage a lot of people, is that have an idea or an intentionality about what you want in life. Sorry.
Yeah, that's the issue with dating somebody like me, is that you probably would feel a lot of pressure because I'm a woman who's moving forward and I'm like, okay, well, I'm on a mission, so I've got things to do. Are you coming or not? Because I can't really be bothered 3 months, 6 months down the track.
Yeah.
Well, dealing with, what are we doing? Where are we going with this? And I think, and that's another reason why I'm just like, I know that this sounds like almost defeated, but I don't know. I don't know if there's anybody out there. I don't know that I'm a relationship type of girl, and that's okay. I'm 40 years old and I'm finally like, I'm okay with that. I would far rather spend the rest of my life on my own than in a shitty relationship. And my 3 core values are connection, growth, and purpose. And so, I'm here for a really important reason, and I don't want some half-assed guy next to me who's making me battle with my self-love,
100%. Did you?
I kind of feel like sorry to butt in again, but I kind of feel like when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, you probably would stand for all the single women, what makes me think that I'm entitled to have a relationship in this life? I've got this life. I've got an amazing life, and I'm lucky enough to be a mother, so I've got a beautiful son. I'm stoked. I'm macking it. So the only time I end up creating
uncertainty.
And sadness in my mind is when I believe that it's my God-given right to have a man. I do think it's a waste of a really good woman, but with the wrong guy in this life, it will be fatal for me. But with the right guy, we would be unstoppable and we would make the world a better place.
Do you think that society, we've kind of sort of made this melting pot of whatever, yeah, like a smorgasbord of shit that can just happen?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the question that you're kind of asking, but I know I need to apologize to anyone that's listening to this because this is really fresh for me. So I am a little bit, it does bring up a lot of emotion for me. And I'm freaking out because I feel like I'm just dumping my shit here and it probably doesn't, I feel like I worry that it doesn't make sense. And I really but I feel like maybe this might make me sound like I really am needing a man, and I'm not, but I do feel like society makes us feel like at 40, you probably should be in a relationship. And I do feel like when I look at my friends and they're in their relationships, I do feel like less of a woman, you know? I feel like we've got these dating apps and these, you know, we're these adults on these dating apps. Nobody's been told to go and do relationship courses.
Yeah.
If I want to go and get a dog from the SPCA, somebody has to come and check that my house is fenced. Like I have to jump through hoops to get a dog. I can go get 10 boyfriends today though. You know, like we're naughty. Like there's a reason why we're on dating apps. We're naughty adults who couldn't get our shit together. And unfortunately, the longer that we're left on our own, it feels like, unless you're somebody like me who's stepping up and wanting to do the work, then we're just going round and round in circles, and we're causing harm to each other, but I don't see it so negatively because I see everything as a learning experience anyway, like my week was. But it does break my heart when I see what it does to, you know, like some of my girlfriends who are also dating. It's ruthless.
You mentioned something that's really important, Kate, is doing the work. Like, do you feel like in this day and age, because of social media, because of dating apps, do you feel like it's given us almost like a cushion into, like, we can just go, we can hook up, we can date, and we can piss off, and Absolutely. It's okay. But yet emotionally, we are riding ourselves bare boned, and when it's that balloon of hurt that's just expanding and expanding and expanding and expanding, and we don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's awful. Like I think that a lot of, I was going to say guys, but I reckon it's girls too. I think that people just get hooked on that initial meeting, that spark. Yeah. I hate it. It's so boring. Like I'm just like, I want it to still, it's exciting when you first meet somebody, but I plan on it being exciting in 5 years' time with the same person, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like as soon as you hit a hurdle, and you're going to hit hurdles, look at the world that we live in. Like, life is challenging, right? So as soon as we hit a hurdle, everyone's just like, this is too hard. We're living in a society where it's like, I'm going to do me, you know, fuck what the other person thinks. Like, everyone's so fiercely independent. I am actually being quoted to say that I feel like all of the people that want to be in relationships are already in relationships and they're miserable. And then there's the rest of us who actually don't want to be in relationships because we don't want to relate with each other because we're all savage. And I'm like, you know, I'm looking around and I'm like, I reckon it's a real good time to team up with someone, you know? I don't know how to check the oil in my car. I need someone to check the oil in my car, and I'll bait for them, you know, like it makes sense to me. But, you know, I meet these guys and I'm so bubbly and I'm so like, hey, well, I've got this great idea. Like, how about we just have the best relationship ever? And they're generally like, yeah, this sounds good. And then I think they're like, whoa, this means I've got to show up for my shit.
And you said the dreaded R word, relationship, where I have to relate to you and you have to relate to me, and I got to bear all to you and you got to bear all to me, and I got to love myself through all my ugliness. But then when you show me your ugliness too, I'm like, whoa, this is not.
And I saw something the other day that was like, you know, what women want from men is for you guys to just embrace our dark. So when, say you and I were to get together and, you know, there would be things that would be triggering. I've done as much healing as I can in myself, but unfortunately, it's going to, as soon as I enter into a relationship, it's going to bring up healing that needs to be done only within that, only in a relationship, right? So it's going to bring up stuff with me, and I'm going to like share my dark and purge, and guys bolt. And so that teaches me, keep quiet, hold that in, don't show him your dark. But if you could just hold space for me and I could let out my dark, guess what? The dark's not so dark anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%.
Be the woman. Like, yeah, it's so weird. And then there's the whole, like, what's the rules with dating, right? Like, there's so many dating coaches out there. There's one guy that I'm watching and he's like, oh, don't, like, after, like, there is a cooling off period, like, don't message him straight away. And I'm like, oh, do I need to set a timer? Because I'm just like, fuck, like, and you know how I message, you get messages from me. Like,
I was like, who the hell made that rule up?
I don't play games, but now I'm like, is there a science behind it? You know, like, because it does make them miss you. It does make them intrigued about you. There's nothing to be intrigued about with me. In fact, if you're not sure about something, message me and I'll tell you. Like, you know, like, if you want to know what I'm up to, it's on my Insta stories. Like, part of me does kind of think like, oh, I probably wouldn't want to be my boyfriend. They'd be like, I don't want to be on a TV show. She shares everything with her followers. But I wouldn't do that in my, you know, my relationship is separate from me as an individual, and that would be assessed with the person at the time.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. I think it was so cool to see your personality through a challenging time, because like you handled yourself with a lot of integrity. I know you're not going to agree with me, but you handled yourself with a lot of integrity. Like, you stayed true to who Kaydee is and how fucking bad Kaydee is. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't just, you bore it all, but at the same time too, you were like, all right, okay, I'm gonna go lift some weights. I'm gonna message Sebastian. I'm gonna have a little blur to Sebastian, but I'm gonna go lift some weights and I'm gonna get out there, and you know, and then you all on your own, you know, you've came up with like, okay, right, I'm probably not gonna date for another 6 months. And you answered stuff, the questions that you had with the stuff that came up, and I think it taught me a lot about myself, to be honest, because I was like, hey, you know, like, I was listening to, like, I've also, like, the guys need to understand, I've got to back into the story, so I was with you while this was going on, like, we were talking and stuff like that, so I knew that this dude's not really doing himself any favors at all. But in hindsight too, like, I can see how you were, as you said, you know, if I'm gonna allow you into that vulnerability,
yeah,
you need to make space for that dark, because it's part of me, you know, and it's part of you. Like, so many times though, we sort of say no, you know, oh, this is too crazy, or oh, this is too much, or oh, life is messy.
Yeah.
It's filthy at times, you know. So
and I don't know, I kind of want to like take a time out and ask you a question, but I know that you can edit this. But
go for it.
I feel like it's probably important, don't edit me ever, but I feel like it's probably important for people to know that I also slept with the guy, which I'm not proud of, but it was, I honestly believe that it was from that. And I remember having the discussion with him before that. Like, I know that when women sleep with men, we release a hormone, oxytocin, and that creates us feeling like we're falling in love with you.
Yeah.
Whereas men produce a hormone and it's dopamine, and it's basically just getting off. So that was my biggest learning experience. And I did say to you, the next guy that I sleep with is going to be my husband, or no one, you know, like, I have learned through this experience that, like, this little blast of dating that I've just done, that my boundaries are set now. And, you know, you don't get you don't get boyfriend rights if you don't step up for boyfriend responsibilities. So you don't get the sexy photos, you don't get the free massage, because I'm a massage therapist and they all want a free massage. You don't get that. You know, it's not about me saying you need to buy me this and you need to do that, but I need to have some self-worth, you know, and I'm definitely not sleeping with you, you know, like it's not, my body is my body and it's a temple, and it's that was the bit that tripped me up, is that it's really important to me, you know, and I kind of think back to the situation. I'm like, how did I let that happen? I'm like, because I'm a hopeless romantic, you know. Don't grab me and kiss me like that and then ghost me. That's gonna make me go crazy. Like
I remember when you messaged me and you were like, oh, we slept together, and I go, oh my god, Kaydee.
Mum tells me all the time, she's like, don't you sleep with them? I'm like, but I love sex, but I love it. She's like, yeah, but the chase is over. And it's true. Like, I've had guys tell me, like, yeah, it's.
We had we were making so many jokes, like, because of that. Like, that was, you would ask me a question and I'd respond, maybe you shouldn't have. like every question you ask, I'd be like, well, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't have. So.
The best part was the date was great. Like, we had the best day. He said that his jaw was so sore because he was laughing so much, because I'm so funny to hang out with. I'm a cool chick.
Hilarious. Yeah.
That happened. He bolted. Like, it was. And I just let everyone know that I'm not that bad in bed. Like, it's,
yes,
you know,
yeah.
From jeepers.
Oh my gosh. Kaydee, can you leave us with the last thought of, just to wrap up this whole conversation about self-love? You still are the self-love queen. We're going to be hearing more of you.
Yeah, totally.
Give us a gem just to leave us with about how you push forward in this week.
Oh, this is kind of like what we were talking about before we pushed play on this. I always thought that I would be doing these podcasts or standing on a stage telling you guys these awesome, crazy concepts that I'd learned that were like wild, and it's just not. It's so basic and so simple. Like, it's always just never ever give up. Like, and just do, like, I ask myself all the time during the day, I go make a decision. I'm like, what would I do if I loved myself? Do I want to go get on my yoga mat? No. I want to go drink tequila. What would I do if I loved myself? I'd go get on my yoga mat and I do that. You know, so it's just like, and just remembering that a lot of our pain is caused through our thinking and our creating scenarios in our head. And if you actually stop right here, right now in this moment without thinking, everything's fine. You know, it's our attachment, it's our desire, it's our drive, it's our thinking that we need to keep up with everyone else in society, when really you just need to be true to yourself, you know, and you just need to love yourself and always have your own back, always, and never ever let yourself down.
Kaydee, thank you so much for your time. It's absolutely been amazing to talk to you. You are the self-love queen. You well done on dealing with not an icky situation, but it can trip a lot of people up. This stuff here can trip a lot of people up. So I'm sure a lot of the smack talkers are going to definitely learn a lot about this. But how can we find you on, like, if we wanted to sort of like subscribe to you or, you know, get in touch with you, how can we find you?
My biggest platform is probably Instagram, so you can tag my Instagram handle in here. I'm kind of trying to like hit it on TikTok at the moment, but my 13-year-old son is on TikTok, and so he's like doesn't really want me on that platform, but I'm also on TikTok. So I'm on Instagram. Awesome. I don't really use Facebook, and I'm on TikTok.
Okay, yeah. Cool. So I'm going to put the Instagram handle on there, but I'm going to tag you in the promo videos and stuff like that as well. So we'll definitely put you on that there so you can share this as well, because this is going to be on YouTube and Spotify.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right. Have a good afternoon. I'll message you soon.
Yeah. Okay. See ya.
Bye.